Hi, and welcome to Animation Deconstructed. My name is Shaul Gonsalves, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at this magical text effect. Let's take a closer look. So straight away we can see that we've got this kind of outline light sweep that goes across the text, which is also activating this kind of particle system. And within the particle system, we've got this little dust effect, these little sparkles, and then right on the edges, some smoke just to end it off. What we also have is this kind of glass effect on the text, following it up right at the end. Before we start, there's a few plugins that you need to get, and the links are in the description. The first one is, if I come here, let's just select any layer, Video Copilot and Saber. It is a free plugin, so head on down to Video Copilot and download and install. The other one is Null Unmelt. There is a link in the description to Red Giant, where there is a free plugin on their site. And the final one is Trapcode Particular. And there's also a link for that, but it is a paid plugin, although there is a 30-day trial which you can test it out and see if you like it or not. As always, I do upload the PSD and the image files or any video files to my blog so that you can follow along with the tutorial. I'm going to double click in my project panel and you will have this PSD called Magical 1. Double click. I'm going to import it as a composition, not retain layer sizes. I want everything to be the size of my composition. I'm also going to merge the layer styles into the footage. And if you look in the PSD, you will see that there's multiple drop shadows on one object, and After Effects doesn't like multiple layer styles of the same kind on the same object. It can't read it. So I'm going to click OK and double click to go inside the composition. Separating this out, we've got this top layer. We have this outline of the effect of the text, and we've got the drop shadow. Do want to just fix something on the drop shadow. I did not have this as solid all the way through, so with it selected, type in tint in the effects panel, drop that on top, hide the effect, pick the purple with both maps and turn it back on. So to begin this, we need to create an outline of this top part of the text. So an easy way to do that in After Effects is to go to the layer panel, go down to auto trace, and my settings are as follows. I have blur ticked on and 1 pixel before the auto trace, then tolerance 3, threshold 50, minimum area 10, and corner roundness 50. I'm also applying this to a new layer, and because I have the tick box on the preview on, we can see that it's a pretty nice fit around the text. Press OK, and we have our trace. We're going to go to Effect, down to Video Copilot, and add the Saber effect onto this layer. Initially, you'll just see like a Star Wars saber. So we go to the Customize Core, change Saber to the layer masks. And first thing that we need to do is change the core size. It's way too big. Take that down to 1. Glow intensity, let's take this down. And then the glow spread. We can take the intensity up again. Holding the Control or Command key whilst you're scrolling this gives you a bit more control over moving these parameters to the right and left. We can see that everything else disappeared because it filled the background with black, and this wouldn't be too much of a problem except for later on when I don't want this and I want to use it as a particle emitter. I'm going to go to Effect and we're going to choose Unmelt. If you can't find it, just go to the Effects and Presets and type in Unmelt. And then I want to change the layer mode to Add, and the glow color, I'm just going to make this a warm orangey red. Just going to toggle this button over here, which will hide our masks so we can see what everything looks like, and that looks pretty magical to me, especially with this going over like a light sweep. In order to create that, just select that layer, Ctrl-Shift-C to pre-compose, and I'm going to call this lines sweep. Move all attributes into the new composition, change this mode back to Add, and then double click to go inside. To create the sweep effect, we're going to right click, create a new solid, call this masker, then select our rectangle tool and draw a rectangle over the layer. Go to where the pen tool is and select the mask feather tool and drag this in to about there. I want quite a bit to be solid, and then either press the V key to get the pointer tool or select it. Click on the outside so we sort of deselect the layer. Hover on the top of the mask and we just want to pull that across to try and match the same angle as the text. Pressing the M key will allow us to keyframe the mask path. I'm going to turn on the little stopwatch. I'm going to double click on our mask and I'm going to take it off to the edge of the screen on the left. I'm going to move over to 3 seconds, double click on the mask again and move it off to the right. Then with our bottom layer selected, we're going to go to the track matte button and call it alpha matte. Now if we just move forward and backwards, we'll see that this is our light sweep that's going to happen on our text. We can close this and go back, and this should update very quickly. Also going to change this to auto so that doesn't take up too much of my RAM and slow down my computer. The next part we have to tackle is creating the particles. First particle system that I want to take care of are these soft little dust particles. To add particular to our composition, we need to create a solid. I'm going to call this particular dust. Press OK. Going to type in particular, double click to add it, and initially it will spread out particles from a point in the center. We need to create an emitter from this, but we don't want particles to be created where the soft kind of area is. We just want it to be where the harsh line is. So I'm going to duplicate this line and then Ctrl-Shift-C, call this emitter and move all attributes inside. Double click to go inside here, and we're going to add a levels effect to this layer. Go to the drop down and choose alpha. We're basically going to crunch this down until we have something like this. That should be good. We can hide that layer, but we do need to change it to a 3D layer because particular needs a layer to be 3D in order to use it as a layer emitter. Let's look at the particular effect controls. Drop down the emitter and want to change point to layer, and then we're going to select our layer, which is the emitter layer. It's an animation because that light sweep is actually moving. So we want to select particle birth time, and I don't want to use the colors from it, so I'm going to select none, and that'll just default to white, which we can change later. If I just solo this layer, you'll see that we only see 2 particles, even though it says particles per second are 100. I've explained this before, but basically what it does is it looks at your entire scene and adds 100 particles into that scene, and then looks at your emitter, and it says, okay, only the particles that are anywhere inside this alpha will live in the scene. So we need to pump that up quite a bit in order to get the soft dust effect. As we drag this up, you'll see this kind of sprays in an unorganized fashion. So I want to change uniform to directional, and this will be shooting out towards us. I am also going to change, I'm going to drag this up to about 300, and that should be good. Change the velocity to about 250. I'm going to come down to particle and change the life to 1. The life random to 50, so these particles will live either half a second or all the way up to 1.5 seconds. Going to change the size to 2. Also add a random percentage to that of 50. And I want to change the size of a life. One of the presets are good enough. This one right here. And we can actually add a few more of these to this. Let's change our layer mode to add. As we go down the particle system, we can see we can change the color. In my example, I had this as a light pink. And last thing is that I want them to shoot up slightly and then come down. So we just need to change the X rotation. So pull it back. -8. And gravity 140. That might be too much, so 90. Okay, and I'm just going to take this back to about 350,000. The next particle system we need to take care of is the little sparkles. So I'm going to duplicate this, save us time, hit the enter key, change the word dust to sparkles. Go down to our particle type and change that to star. And I'm going to take 10 off the end there, and I'm just going to change the 3 to a 1, so we've got a lot less. This is starting to look like the example. The last particle system we need to take care of is the soft smoke on the outside. Duplicated the sparkles, and I'm going to call this smoke. There was no gravity on this, so I'm going to take this off. Also going to solo the layer, change the particle type to cloudlet, take the size right up. So I'm on 73 right now. We'll see if that's good enough. Take the opacity down to 5%. And take the particles per second right down. Okay, we can make this slightly bigger now. Unsolo it and take the velocity down to about 60. Change this add to screen. And just take the size down slightly again. That's pretty much what I had in the example. Before we do the RAM preview, we do need to take care of, if I move forward, you'll see the dust turning on like the other particles. It doesn't work the same way. If I just solo it, see that just exploding on. We want to grow in size and to fade out over time. So I'm going to go to the size over life and the opacity over life. So this is the wrong way. Easy way to flip this is this little switch at the bottom here. And then with the opacity over life, can just select that. Now if we take a look at this, it'll be nice and soft. And just add some softness to the particle effect. So velocity is at about 96 and the size of my particles are 86. When I showed you this, I also showed you that we had this glass kind of texture, and this is pretty easy to do. I just duplicate my top layer of the text, and we are going to use this line sweep as an alpha. So if I just solo these two, you'll see what happens. Click alpha matte, and it's already quite glossy because it's using the line and getting rid of all this inside area. The other thing, to add more gloss, to add more of a gloss effect, we're just going to type in CC gloss, add that to our text layer. It'll distort straight away, but we're going to take that off by taking the displacement to 0, taking the height right up, and adding some softness. We'll take the light intensity to about 400, 460. The shading, we're going to take the roughness up, and the metal down. And let's just play with this ambient and the diffuse. Unsolo that, change it to add, and the way I offset this is just by using this light sweep layer and just moving it across to come in at a later stage. Might be a bit too far. Now if we RAM preview this, it's looking pretty good. We're almost at the end. We just need to add the trees into the background and the little dust video, which kind of plays this dust effect in the background. Going to double click, bring in the forest, control click the particles to import them both at the same time. And let's drop this forest image on top of our background. Move it down and change it to an adjustment layer. I'm going to add a levels to this and just drag this forward, the RGB, the red, and drag that a bit forward as well. The blue I'm going to crunch right down to about there, and then just take the transparency and then just take the opacity of the layer down to 50%. As for the particle, let's just drop that on top. If I double click this, it's just a bunch of dust that was recorded on video, and it slows down at about 15 seconds. So I want to use from this area here. And an easy way to move this across is just to bring up our in duration. It's just to bring up our in and out and duration settings, and this in column here, just click on it and say -15 full stop and enter, and you'll see it automatically moves across. I'm going to change this to screen and take down the opacity to 50%. Close that up and do a final RAM preview of the entire effect. Okay, if you found this tutorial helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button, and if you'd like to, hit the bell icon as well. It'll remind you when I release a new video. I do release at least 2 new videos every week, so keep your eye out for that, and visit the blog, write in the comments, and I'll get back to you if there's anything that you're looking for. Until next time.